Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Yesterday, Blizzard announced that there will be new nerfs coming to Hearthstone, and they're coming soon, on February 5th, so that's already next week. This time the nerfs are not focused on making the cards from the new set more in line with the rest of the game, but instead they are focused on nerfing old, classic and basic cards. Yeah, you can frame this in multiple ways. The official version is that these cards have been in the meta and they have been auto-included for so long that they want to freshen up the meta a little bit. The pessimistic view would be that they want you to buy more packs. I don't really know which is the correct answer, but anyway, let's go take a look at what the nerfs are. First of all, we have Cold Blood. Cold Blood is going from 1 mana to 2 mana. This change will affect all current Rogue decks. Well, that's because Rogue has not been given a chance to have any other archetypes except for aggressive archetypes, and any aggressive archetype would like to have a Cold Blood in it. So Odd Rogue, Miracle Rogue, Tempo Rogue, all use Cold Blood, all will be affected. Odd Rogue obviously loses the card entirely because they cannot use it anymore. Tempo Rogue, if they run Kelaset, yeah, they lose the card. Miracle Rogue could still run it, but it's more expensive. So whether the card is completely killed or not, too early to say, but this is a big hit to the aggressive rogue archetypes. So some questions that come from this is, one is, well, now that it's an even cost card, what about even rogue? And that's actually one of the things that I really want to try out once the nerfs come live. Can I build out some kind of pirate even type of rogue deck with now Cold Blood in it as well? But other than that, given that these decks are going to be weaker, we can look at, okay, well, Odd Rogue has been the premium aggro deck in Hearthstone for some time now, but maybe some other classes have aggro decks that can come and rise up and take the position of Odd Rogue. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. The second announced nerf is a nerf to Flametongue Totem, from 2 mana to 3. This is especially significant for Wild, because Even Shaman is a very dominant deck in the Wild format. In Standard format, Even Shaman is the only playable Shaman deck and it's in no way dominant, so this really hurts. I don't even know what Shaman is supposed to do in Standard right now. In addition to Even Shaman, it affects any token Shamans out there and Aggro Overload Shaman, which is kind of sort of viable aggressive deck. Even Shaman will really struggle to find a replacement because they already run Earthen Might, they already run Direwolf Alpha, they already run all of the cards that do a similar effect. Whereas Aggro Overload Shaman could in theory put in Direwolf Alpha in the deck, because they don't already have it. But Direwolf Alpha doesn't allow you to get those 1 attack minions into 3 attacks, so they miss a very crucial breakpoint for the current metagame. So it's very hard to see what the future of Shaman is going to be in Standard form, especially after this nerf. The next nerf, Equality, from 2 mana to 4 mana. And Equality is run in all sorts of slower paladin decks, the slower mid-range decks and control decks. So it will affect Even Paladin, OTK DK Paladin, Holy Wrath OTK Paladin and Death Rattle Paladin. And what makes me especially sad about this is that Paladin was the only class that had control cards that were not of epic rarity or higher. And Equality is one of those key cards in that build. So we're going to make the only budget control deck that much weaker. And that's really sad, because there is really no replacement for Equality, so I assume that all the control style Paladin builds will continue playing with Equality. Whereas I'm not sure, maybe even Paladin might cut it. And this was also the rationale that was given by the developers in some additional conversations that they have had over the internet with fans, that Equality was attempted at 3 mana, but it was still too good, so then they put it at 4, and now it should not see play in any aggressive Paladin decks anymore, but should still be a viable card for the control variants of the archetype. But still, this means that your Pyro Equality is going to cost 6 mana, that's just terrible. All sorts of control paladins will really struggle to beat aggro, if there's any viable aggro decks left. Hunter is also taking a bit of a hit. Hunter's Mark from 1 mana to 2 mana, and do you remember a time when Hunter's Mark cost 0 mana? This card just is a nerf magnet. This will affect practically all Hunter archetypes right now: Spell Hunter, Hybrid Hunter, Midrange Hunter, Death Rattle Hunter, Some of them played as 2-off, some of them only played as 1-off. You obviously can no longer play this together with Kelaset, so that's a consideration. It should still be playable as a 1-off in something like a mid-range hunter if you like that. Or it might be replaced by a Deadly Shot. Deadly Shot is 3 mana to destroy a random minion, and Hunter's Mark plus something like a Spring Paw is also 3 mana. But you get to choose the minion that you kill. So it's not impossible for this to see play, but of course it is impossible for this to see play together with Kelaset. Overall, this I believe is the most insignificant of the nerfs that are being made right now. Finally, there is actually one nerf to a rotating card, which is the Emerald Spellstone, from 5 mana to 6 mana. So all sorts of hunter decks that run secrets, Spell Hunter, Hybrid Hunter, Secret Hunter, will get a bit slower with this, and they also can no longer combo this with Tundra Rhino on turn 10. But obviously it weakens the secret using hunter archetypes, but of course mid-range hunter, which is right now the strongest hunter archetype anyway, doesn't even run secrets and doesn't run the Spellstone, so it doesn't care. I assume that if you want to run secrets, then even at 6 mana this is still a playable card. Maybe you could build some kind of an even secret hunter in the future. That's some avenue of development that could be opened up by this change, but more likely you would just switch to mid-range hunter and keep owning. Those are all the nerfs that are coming. So there are 4 basic or classic cards nerfed, and there's the Emerald Spellstone that's being nerfed. And all of the nerfs target mostly these more aggressive decks. So they're making aggression weaker, and nothing like Clone Priests, Megatoon decks, all these combo decks that you have absolutely no interaction with, they are not touched in any way. So taking a very surface level look at this, okay, does this mean that we're going to enter a combo meta? Not necessarily. I actually tried to run some numbers on this. First of all, we have some aggro decks that are currently not that popular, but are a little bit rising up, that are not going to be affected by these nerfs, so they will get stronger in relation to the other decks that are being nerfed. These decks are Secret Paladin and Secret Odd Mage. You can find deck guides for both of these decks on this YouTube channel. And they are quite powerful decks indeed. So I said something about numbers, what did I mean? This is what I meant. I used the HS Replay interface, and on HS Replay you can set up custom weights for the popularity of various decks. And I set up the popularity so that I assumed that all of the nerf decks will die. Except for those decks that are only affected by the Hunter's Mark nerf, which I don't consider to be significant. Of course, this is a gross simplification of the situation, but I don't think I have the tools to make a really good evaluation of how this is going to turn out. That would require re-evaluating all the win rates and re-evaluating then the actual distribution in the meta, and that's a bit more sophisticated. But we're doing a rough pass. And a rough pass that says that okay, the nerf decks will die and they will be out of the meta. Then what would be good? And this would be a list of what would be good. Of course, as you can see, there are plenty of nerf decks here, but remember these expected win rates for this list are calculated so that these nerf decks are actually not part of the meta. So it's assumed like, okay, Odd Rogue, if you took pre-nerf Odd Rogue into post-nerf meta where Odd Rogue is dead, yeah, pre-nerf Odd Rogue would be awesome, it would rule. But if we ignore all of those and only focus on the decks that are not nerfed in here, we can get a rough idea, okay, what sort of decks would be on the top. And okay, nerfed, Secret Odd Mage, Odd Paladin, Midrange Hunter, Death Rattle Hunter, nerfed, Secret Paladin, Recruit Hunter, Mind Blast Priest, nerfed, Combo Priest, Zoolock. Funnily enough, this view doesn't show any of those combo decks. So there are actually a bunch of aggressive decks, other than the current top ones, well, with the exception of Midrange Hunter, which is going to stay, that are need to take the place of the nerf decks and still keep fighting against combo. Things get more interesting when we start iterating on this. Okay, so if we come to a conclusion that okay, those certain decks died, These are the new good decks. What if the new meta was these decks? And actually, if I put in these decks as the new meta, the ones of here that are ones that are alive, then that would make Odd Warrior the best deck in the entire game. So, if there's going to be a bunch of aggro, then suddenly Odd Warrior becomes very dominant. But Odd Warrior is very polarized and very easy to counter. So when I did that, and then after that I added a little bit of combo decks to the mix, some Mechatoon Warlock, some Mechatoon Priest, which were supposed to be pretty good for this field, and really would start to shine after Odd Warrior was added. Then Odd Warrior crashed down immediately. So these sorts of fairly aggressive archetypes are very likely to be a significant part of the metagame. Then there's going to be those Odd Warriors who are going to look for those favorable matchups and will really hope that please don't roll a combo opponent, please don't roll a combo opponent. And then there will be those combo decks who will in turn wish, okay, get me an Odd Warrior, get me an Odd Warrior, don't get me one of those aggro decks. Yeah, that might not be a perfect world either. It would be a very rock, paper, scissors type of world, but is it going to be fun? If you in the matchups and you know, okay, I'm going to lose this game, okay, I'm going to win this game, I'm going to lose that game, I'm going to win that game, we'll see. Anyway, nerfs are coming. I don't really know why these nerfs were made. None of the nerfs seem particularly necessary to me, but the argument was that they want to freshen up the meta and they want to remove some of these cards that are seeing too much play. So, what can you do? We can only adapt to the situation, and adapting to the situation doesn't necessarily mean that Hearthstone is going to become a combo game. It might mean that a bit of different set of aggressive decks will rule, and then there will be a bunch of Odd Warriors preying on those, and then there will be a bunch of combo decks preying on the Odd Warriors. Something like that is the outcome that I can predict from these nerfs by doing this sort of very rough level evaluation. The nerfs should be live on February 5th, so immediately when they're live we of course start testing. It will take a week or two before we actually know what kind of meta it's going to be. But obviously it will be interesting times to test up new things and go for a new meta again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.